Let's take a look at what we do have coming up down at the Seaside Oval. Stakes action in bunches, and we start tomorrow, yes, Friday afternoon with the $150,000 Fleet Treat. Then on Saturday, marquee event's going to be the Grade 1 Bing Crosby, a win, and you're into the Breeders' Cup later this season down there at the Seaside Oval. Then the San Diego into the Daisy Cutter, and Matty B, we've got the Eddie Read on Sunday as a cherry on top.
Eddie Read's always one of my favorite races of the year. Mile and an eighth on the turf. It can be a precursor to bigger and better. Some of the horses will stretch out. Some of them will eventually turn back to a race like the Del Mar Mile. But Saturday is the focal point. You brought up that Bing Crosby. Don't sleep on that San Diego, because you might end up seeing the eventual favorite for the Pacific Classic coming up at the end of August, depending on what Nisos does on Saturday.
With that, Matt, let's jump into the San Diego Handicap. Goes off as race number 8 on Saturday afternoon. Mile and a 16th will be the distance. It looks to be a competitive field of 7 on deck for this one. From the likes of Nisos with Flavion Pratt for Bob Baffert, all the way through to Tarantino for Peter Erden. We've got Judge Miller there with Fraser, who seems to be the hot rider of the meet thus far through 3 days of racing, with so many different directions to go. Matt, how do you see this one playing out? Is Nisos the one to beat?
He certainly is the horse to beat. Now, if you have reservations about what his best distance is going to be, that's entirely fair. I don't think the 2 turns at a mile and a 16th will be an issue. 10 furlongs down the road in the Pacific Classic is a horse of a different color. But if he comes back and runs like he did in the Triple Bend that we're looking at right now, Dubs, he's not just going to win. He's going to win rather comfortably, and he will solidify himself as one of, if not the favorites, for the Pacific Classic. I think a lot will depend on a little horse called Journalism, where he decides to go as far as the wagering is concerned. But Nisos, no doubt about it, from a talent standpoint, he is the best horse running in the San Diego Saturday.
Has the numbers, has the connections, that is Nisos, starting from the 2-hole. For conditioner Bob Baffert with Flavion in the irons. Let's take a look at the San Diego head scratchers. How notable Bob Baffert runners have fared in the San Diego since 1998. Arabian Night, well, saw a lot of money last season, didn't quite live up to the billing. Country Grammar ran a big race, but comes in for a runner-up. It was Maximum Security who got it done in FedBiz back in 2014. And if you look down that right column, in terms of the odds, Matt, no surprises. The Baffert runner's always going to see a bulk of the money. But any cause for concern with Nisos going off historical data here?
Probably a little bit, and I think this is also just sort of a handicapping and gambling thing that you should keep in the back of your mind. For many of these high percentage outfits that win a lot of races, more often than not, they have very, very short prices. That's why they win so many races. But because of that, accordingly, it's very difficult to turn a profit if you're betting on these kind of horses. So while Nisos to me is the horse to beat, he may not be the horse to bet. If you do really like him, I would suggest kind of keying him in multi-race bets, or if you want to play exactas and things like that, maybe you try to work around him that way, because the win end, he's going to be very, very light, and I don't think he's going to warrant a win wager.
If you're looking to keep it with the Hall of Famer in Bob Baffert, Baffert brings in 2 runners there. We've got Miramati starting from that 3-hole. Star Pilot, Juan Hernandez, booked to ride this one. Impressive speed figure clock last out, but certainly a tougher assignment waiting on Saturday, Matt.
That's kind of been the knock against Miramati to this point. When he faces softer company, he looks like a potential superstar. And then when he takes on some of the bigger boys and girls, he doesn't quite cut the mustard. So your guess is as good as mine what version we get on Saturday. Of the 2 Bafferts, to me, it's kind of a no contest. Nisos very clearly the more talented of the 2.
Looking elsewhere, if you're looking for a runner who may be pressing the pace, putting that pressure on the front markers, watch out for the 4 in Express Train. Comes in for John Sheriffs, this 8-year-old, north of $1.5 million in career earnings, so certainly knows how to show up and get it done. But if you look at what we have seen for this season, last season, it's been a minute since Express Train has made it back into the winner's circle. So, Matt, I ask you, has this 8-year-old seen the best days behind?
He may have. He may be getting a little bit long in the tooth, but to be fair, I think he's actually run very well here so far in 2025. Now, to your point, Dubs, he hasn't been to the winner's circle in the better part of 3 years, but I think it would be don't want to say foolish, but I wouldn't write him off too quickly. I don't know that I love him on top, but he can absolutely run a race good enough to finish second in a spot like this.
A mile and a 16th is the distance. If you're looking for runners who may be well suited at that mark, Hall of Fame jumping from the 5 barrier gets Kazushi Kimura in the irons for trainer Michael McCarthy. Previously there with Steve Asmussen. Hall of Fame looks to be a very promising colt there for the team. And Matt, this seems to be lining up in the right direction. It's just the trip out to the West Coast I'm intrigued to see from the 4-year-old.
The trip out west, making his debut in Southern California, is certainly intriguing. But this is a horse that for a long time I've kind of stood by this, and I said it down at the fairgrounds in New Orleans over the winter. I'll say it again now. He's won 4 times in his career. All 4 wins have come when he had medication, Lasix on. He will not have Lasix on in this spot. The races in which he hasn't had Lasix, he's yet to win. So until proven otherwise, I'm going to stick to that pattern.
What a Saturday afternoon we have looming here on FanDuel TV. That's the Grade 2 San Diego Handicap going off at 8:30 Eastern.